Hey everybody, welcome to or back to my channel. If you guys don't know me, my name is Danny. I also go by Danny Doll, and I am a performance artist, mostly known for my go-go dancing. And in today's video, I'm going to cover the topic of how much I really make as a go-go dancer. These numbers are going to be based off of actual data that I collect after my go-go shifts, and yeah, I keep track of my income after every single gig. So this is going to be very accurate data of how much I make as a go-go dancer. Okay, and before I dive into the actual numbers, I wanted to talk about first the different ways that I get paid and make money as a go-go dancer. So the first way is through my base pay, which is basically going to be a base rate for the gig that is negotiated between me, the dancer, and the client or whoever is booking me. And I work all types of gigs, from nightlife events, birthday parties, corporate events, festivals, concerts. So my base pay is going to vary depending on what type of event I'm working, how long do they want me to perform, do they want specific costuming, is there travel required, etc., etc., etc. Therefore, my base rate is never going to be the same. I do have a minimum hourly rate that I like to stick to, but I feel like my base rate definitely varies according to the gig and their specific requests. Now, apart from my base pay, I also sometimes get tips. I mostly only get tips for nightlife events, so this is also another avenue of income for me as a go-go dancer. Some other ways that you could make money as a go-go dancer is through courses, YouTube, affiliate links, etc. You can get pretty creative and find different ways to make money as a go-go dancer, but to keep today's video nice and simple, I'm only going to be going over my base pay and tips. So what I went ahead and did was I calculated my income from January 2002 to June 2002 to give you guys a 6-month span. I actually ended up doing a lot of math for this, and I hate math, so please like this video and subscribe to my channel because it took me a lot of work to figure out this information for you guys. So what I did was I calculated how much I made overall during each month, how many gigs I worked, my total base pay amount, my total tips, my base pay average, my tips average, my lowest tips, and then my highest tips, like per gig. So I'm gonna go over each month individually, and I really wanted to calculate, you know, my averages and stuff just to give you guys some more insight of like what is a realistic number you can expect to make as a go-go dancer. Of course, it's going to vary according to what kind of event you're working, what city you are working in, etc. All right. So for January 2022, did I say 2020 earlier? I hope I didn't. Anyways, January 2022, I worked 14 gigs, which is a pretty solid number. That means I was probably working, I want to say 3 to 4 times a week, which is, for me, I like to be booked and busy, so that's a good amount. So my total base pay that I made for the month of January was $1,690. My total tips that I made for the month of January was $2,510. And that brings me to a total of $4,280 for the month of January. So that's the total amount I made with my go-go gigs. I went ahead and calculated the averages as well. So my base pay average, right? I took my total base pay divided by 14 gigs. That was $120.71. My tips average was $179.29 per gig. So that's like for the entire night of the gig. And my gigs usually last, I want to say, anywhere from like 2 to 4 hours on average. So I'm not working very long. The lowest amount of tips that I made in a night or per gig was $2. And then the highest tip that I made was, well, tips, overall tips, not just one single tip, by the way, just want to make that clear. The highest tips that I made per night was $790. That's pretty good. So as you can already tell, the tips definitely vary. So again, when people ask me, how much money do you make in tips? It can literally be anywhere from like $0. That's the least amount I've ever made, obviously. And then I think the most I've ever made as a go-go dancer is like around $1,300. So as you can see, the spectrum is very, very far apart, and it really varies. And this can vary according to, you know, what type of people are at the gig. Are they generous or not? Did they bring cash? You know, there's so many different factors that can tie into what affects my tips. All right, moving on to the month of February, and I'm reading off of a little paper, so sorry, I'm like looking down a lot. So for February is when I actually started stripping again, and I made a little video talking about that if you want to check it out. All right, so for February, I worked a total of 7 gigs. So yeah, I wasn't really working as much go-go gigs because I had started stripping again. So my total base pay for February was $840. My total tips for February was $940. And then my overall total for February was $1,742. My base pay average for February was $120. My tips average was $134. The lowest amount that I made in tips was $27. And then the highest amount that I made in tips was $490. Moving on to the month of March 2022. Again, I worked 7 gigs because I was stripping, and I also do brand ambassador work with different marketing agencies. So I just want to be clear that go-go dancing is not all that I do, and it's not my only source of income. If it was my only source of income, I would definitely be in trouble. So my total base pay for March was $795. My total tips was $1,610. And then the overall total for March was $2,405. My base pay average for March was $113. My tips average was $230. The lowest amount of tips I made in a night was $75. The highest amount of tips I made in a night was $492. So now moving on to April, again, I worked 7 gigs. I don't know what's up with the number 7 for February, March, and April, but yeah, 7 gigs. My total base pay for April was $1,145. Total tips was $972. My overall total that I made in April was $2,117. My base pay average was $63. Oh no, I'm sorry. Yeah, I was like $63. Sorry, $163 for the base pay average. Tips average was $138. The lowest amount of tips that I made in a night was $30, and then the highest amount of tips that I made was $349. So for the month of May, I worked even less gigs, and I think for May I was stripping a lot, And then I had got some aerial bookings as well, so I didn't work that many go-go gigs. I only worked 4 go-go gigs in the month of May. My total base pay was $880. My total tips was $1,156. And so my total for May was $2,036. My base pay average was $220. My tips average was $289. The lowest tips that I made in a gig was $126, and the highest amount that I made in one gig was $461. So last but not least is June, and I worked a total of 8 gigs. My total base pay for June was $1,200. Total tips was $1,514, and then the overall June total was $2,714. My base pay average was $150. My tips average was $189.25. The lowest amount of tips that I made in a gig was $0. And then the highest amount that I made was $835, which is, oh my god, amazing. Also, I really hope my math is right. If my math is off, please let me know. I'm probably going to double check it as I edit this video, so if it happens to be wrong, I will type the correct amounts in. Sorry, again, I'm not super good at math. That's why I love dancing, okay? That's why I'm a go-go dancer and not a mathematician. So, according to my calculations, the total amount that I made in 6 months of go-go dancing was $15,294, and that is with, you know, including my base pay and my tips. Hey guys, sorry for the switch up and for my messy room in the background, but really quick, I wanted to dive in a little bit deeper, and since I only calculated a 6-month span, I'm just gonna use that number and multiply it by 2 to give you guys an idea of ideally how much I would make in a year. And the number for that was 30,588. So we can just assume, based off of data, that I would, or as a go-go dancer, you would at least make $30,000 per year or more. And also, I forgot to note this, that this is before taxes. I do my taxes. Not all dancers do their taxes, especially when they are getting paid in cash, but I do. So this is all of the numbers that I've mentioned so far is before taxes. Also, I wanted to share with you guys, based on the numbers that I calculated, how much on average am I making per gig and even maybe hourly. So let's see, let me do the math really quick on my calculator. All right, so in that 6-month span, I worked a total of 47 gigs, and again, I didn't really work that much during this 6-month span. So I'm going to take that total number, 15,294, and divide it by 47, which brings me to $325.40. So that's pretty much the average that I'm making per gig, and my gigs are on average between 2 to 4 hours. So based off of these calculations, we can go ahead and assume that I'm making at least $100 per hour as a go-go dancer. I decided to do a 6-month span, one, because the year isn't over, so I couldn't do like the entire 2022 year, and also it was a lot of math and like calculating, and I was like, I really don't feel like doing a 12-year span, but if that's something that you guys would be interested in seeing, definitely let me know. Also, if you guys would like me to do one for stripping, if you guys are curious how much I make as a stripper, comment below and I will definitely consider making that as well. Also, like I had mentioned, I was stripping while go-go dancing, so I feel like I wasn't really prioritizing go-go dancing gigs in this time frame that I shared with you guys. So maybe I'll do an updated one now that I am go-go dancing full-time, or like more often now. And I actually haven't stripped in, I want to say like 2 or 3 months. So I've been kind of just focusing more on go-go dancing and also aerials. And I know I mentioned this earlier, but I want to say it again. Go-go dancing is not my only source of income. Do I think that you can make go-go dancing your one and only income? I'm going to be 100% honest with you. Probably not. It maybe, depending on what your expenses are looking like, but you would definitely have to be working like 4 nights a week and working at a venue that has really good tips or really good base pay. So yeah, but go-go dancing is a very great side gig. I love go-go dancing. Obviously, I've been doing it for 11 years. It's great money, keeps me in shape. I just have a very deep passion for it above the money and everything else. So yeah, do I recommend it as a job? Absolutely. If you love dancing, definitely try it out. Also, did you guys notice that my tips average on every single month outnumbered my base pay average? That's why I think if you are going to be a go-go dancer, it's very important that you perhaps work at a venue that allows you to get tips, or where the crowd tips well, because if I wasn't making tips, I don't know if, like, for monetary reasons, if go-go dancing would be a smart decision for me. Of course, I love doing it, but if I wasn't making tips, it probably wouldn't make sense for me to do it just on a financial point of view. So definitely keep that in mind as well. Alright guys, well there you have it. That is how much I realistically make as a go-go dancer. I hope you guys enjoyed watching this video. Like I said, it took me quite a bit of time to calculate all of those numbers for you, so if you don't mind, give this video a like, subscribe to my channel if you haven't already, leave a comment, and I'll see you guys in my next video. Bye!